नहीं ये नहीं बताया थे कि नहीं आएंगे।
सबको बता, आपको तो कल ही बताया था मैंने।
नहीं आएंगे ये नहीं बोला था।
पूरा वीक नहीं आने वाले हैं।
नेक्स्ट वीक कैसे क्या शेड्यूल है आगे का वो पहले बताओ।
नहीं मैम सिर्फ यही वीक 9th को खत्म हो जाएगा।
9th को खत्म हो जाएगा तो नेक्स्ट वीक को
हाँ सब लोग तो आएंगे।
क्या कर रहे थे हम लोग थोड़ा सा ही ज्यादा
वो
कोशिश नहीं करेंगे,
बता था वहाँ।
थोड़ा सा करते हैं, वी हैव टू प्रोसीड अदरवाइज बट एट द सेम टाइम ताकि वो लोग ज्यादा मिस ना करें। क्या था पार्ट्स ऑफ द ब्रेन वी वर डिस्कसिंग, ब्रेन वी हैव फिनिश्ड है ना, brain we have finished and today we are supposed to start with endocrine gland. So let us do some questions. उसके बाद endocrine gland थोड़ा सा करते हैं।
Last question we are supposed to the final reflex are.
अच्छा वॉल्यूम है वो तो ये वॉल्यूम 2 है ना, वॉल्यूम 1 है। You have the volume? हाँ तो ये control coordination वॉल्यूम 1 है ना, we are doing control coordination no volume 1 है। I'll get on with this and then solve some questions.
ये तुम लोग के पास मेरा वॉल्यूम 2 है। शोर बच्चे यार।
इधर आ जाओ, सामने बैठ जा भाई नाम थोड़ा ठीक। अरे भाई तो यहाँ बैठ जा, आगे बैठ जा भाई, पीछे अरे नाम के सामने बैठना है।
पिक्चर वाला सीन हो जाएगा भाई।
बैठ ना भाई बैठ।
Take out those set of questions. Let us do some. Then we'll go to this one, hormones. So brain is over. Reflex action we were doing. What is the question I gave you?
Define reflex action.
Define reflex arc. What are the components? Okay. Write down the definition. Reflex arc is. Reflex arc is defined as reflex arc की action. अच्छा, reflex action is defined as पहले action. Reflex action is defined as a quick. Reflex action is defined as a quick, automatic, involuntary, nerve-mediated response. Nerve-mediated response. Nerve-mediated response by the effectors. Nerve-mediated response by the effectors, which does not involve any previous learning and is due to the stimulus. Does not involve any previous learning and is due to the stimulus. What is meant by reflex action? The other day we have discussed some examples, the method, the process. Whenever, now that I am dictating you something, you are able to write. That is a voluntary activity. Now, say suppose in this voluntary activity, is the spinal cord involved? Remember the other day we discussed the functions of the brain, the functions of the spinal cord. What are the functions of the spinal cord? Reflex action, of course, but at the same time, controlling also the voluntary and involuntary actions of the body along with the brain. Reflex action alone What are the two types of functions of the spinal cord? Spinal cord controls voluntary and involuntary functions of the body in association with the brain every time. When it comes to reflex, number two, when it comes to reflex, it does the function alone. At that time, it does not coordinate with the brain. For example, I am dictating certain things and you are writing it down. That is absolutely a voluntary activity. Is the spinal cord involved here? Yes. The spinal cord and the brain both has helped you do the job. I am reading, spinal cord and brain both help me do the job. Okay, so this is voluntary. What about involuntary? Involuntary, for example, if I talk about right now certain involuntary functions that is happening, the process of breathing, right now, process of breathing, brain and spinal cord both involved. Maybe now we talk about the process of heartbeat happening, brain and spinal cord both involved. So, voluntary हो गया, involuntary हो गया. Now we want to understand that spinal cord alone, how can it regulate certain functions? For example, now that we are seated here, say suppose there is a big loud sound. Suddenly from the AC or somewhere the light fuses and there is a big loud sound. What will happen? We all will show immediately some response. That may be either in the way of blinking our eyelids or a shout or a scream or a movement of the body part. So this type of a immediate response by the effectors of our body, effectors meaning that can be the muscles of the eyelids or the face or the hands or the legs, part of the body which shows a response, that is an effector. This immediate response, which did not involve any previous learning, because that happened all of a sudden. There was a big loud sound and we responded. So for that big loud sound, we did not prepare that, no, I'm going to stand up this way and I'm going to scream this way and I'm going to shout this way. No previous learning. And we showed a response as a defense mechanism, always. This type of an activity is absolutely controlled by the spinal cord and it did not send the message to the brain. Why? Why in a reflex the message is not sent to the brain? Because if the spinal cord sends the message to the brain, the response will take a little bit more of a time. Little bit more of a time, and in that time, probably we may end up in a accident or in danger. So the body is set up in such a way that whenever the body encounters any sudden stimulus, the response is immediately received by the receptors, go to the spinal cord, from the spinal cord back to the effector, does not go to the brain. To cut down on the time, to shorten the pathway, and the brain thinking process is not involved, to shorten the pathway so that we are able to avoid any danger or accident. Think of a situation that maybe now we are crossing the road or some individual is crossing the road and suddenly he gets to see a car approaching very fast. But at that time he has to immediately run or stop or go right, go left immediately, that decision. Which part of the body? The spinal cord. Receptors receive, go to the spinal cord, from the spinal cord effector. So the eye to the spinal cord to the leg muscles. So if I say that way. Is the brain involved? No, if the brain would have been involved, the person would have taken another 1 minute to decide, should I go right or should I go left? But in those seconds, 20-30 seconds, the car would have come very close or hit. And the person is not able to decide, where should I go, front or back or left or right. So this is what is a basic concept of reflex action. Talk about, you should be able to, in your question paper, there will be certain statements, some case studies where there will be some actions mentioned which you will have to understand whether it is a regular involuntary activity or it is a response. Now, I talk about breathing, that is also an involuntary activity, all the responses are also involuntary activity. Then what is the difference? I talk about breathing and I talk about immediately withdrawing your leg the moment you see a snake in front. You are walking and then immediately you see a snake crawling, immediately you walk back. That is also an involuntary activity. And when you are just walking and playing something, that is also when you are walking on the road, that is a voluntary activity, I say. What is the difference? Voluntary activity, brain and spinal cord both involved. You are running on the road, or you are going, say suppose now you are cycling and then suddenly you see a snake passing by, you immediately pull on the brakes. Immediately you pull on the brakes. That is a reflex. So in the process of a voluntary activity, we may show a reflex. So what is the difference? Try understanding in all these examples I am repeatedly telling you. If it is a reflex, the messages does not go to the brain right from the spinal cord, the commands come to the effect. Other than the reflex, if it is a programmed involuntary activity, messages from the receptor go to the spinal cord, from the spinal cord to the brain, from the brain the message will go to the effector, other part of the body to show the response. Then what is reflex arc? Reflex arc is the shortest pathway which brings about a reflex action. Which are the components? The other day I'll tell you. Then, which are the components? The other day I had explained to you those components. Which are the components? One receptor has to be there. What was those neurons known as which carry messages from the receptor to the spinal cord? We discussed those names of the neurons.
Motor neuron.
Sensory neurons. Sensory neurons carry information from the receptor. Remember I gave you one small relation with all those. So that you have to remember always. Already reference I gave you in the form of an arc also. Straight away from the receptor, the sensory neurons will carry the messages to the spinal cord. From the spinal cord, by the motor neuron go to the effector. Messages are not going to the brain at all. So what is reflex arc? What should we write? What is the definition? What are the components? The shortest pathway of nerve impulse transmission. Then what is the longest pathway, or what is the general normal pathway? Receptor, sensory neuron, spinal cord, brain, motor neuron, effector. Reflex and brain part is omitted. Let us write down the definition there. What is reflex arc? The shortest pathway of nerve impulse transmission. The shortest pathway of nerve impulse transmission is known as reflex arc. Full stop. The components involved are put a dash, put them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a dash and number them right vertically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Components involved are number 1, receptor, number 2, sensory neuron, number 3, spinal cord, number 4, motor neuron, number 5, effector. So this is about the reflex action and the reflex arc. Let us go to some of these questions. Look into page 206. Look into page 206. Try number 11, 12, 13. 11, 12, 13. Come on, try. You may write down the answer in the volume itself. 11, 12, 13. Try those questions. If you have a doubt, wait tell me. Let us complete with the questions so that they will not miss much. The next period, I will start with the concept of mode mode. Whatever doubt you have, clarify.
Eleven and 12.
11, 12, 13 also you can do. Part of the body which can perform the following functions. We have finished discussing the brain. Take the question numbers in your volume which are done. You have a doubt, clarify, don't get stuck. Quite a number of questions are going to
For
come
the
in.
12th one, and
Then write cyclone, exon, that's it.
cycle.
And then exon. End of neuron.
What is gustatory receptor?
Gustatory meaning, gustatory receptors are the ones which are present in the tongue. Tongue, the receptors of the tongue, which can sense the chemicals.
So here we tried taste buds.
Which one? Name one gustatory receptor and one olfactory receptor. Gustatory receptor is the tongue. The taste buds on the tongue.
The olfactory
Olfactory, the nose. The nose, the receptors of the nose.
the 14 one, the part
Different parts of the brain are associated with specific functions make the parts of the human brain. Sensation of feeling full.
Is it cerebellum? Because it maintains body balance too.
Right? What was the function of hypothalamus we studied?
Regulating the body temperature.
And
Biological rhythm. Sleep and rhythm.
hunger, thirst. So the feeling of hunger, the feeling of feeling full, that is hypothalamus. First, you have to understand what type of action it is.
Yeah. Right.
Because in your exam paper also this type of questions are waiting today. It will not be every time. Write the function, write the function. This type of condition, example, you have to find out. Voluntary air, involuntary air, reflex air. Then the function. Then the part.
Is it medulla? Because it's
Vomiting is what type of an action?
Involuntary.
Involuntary. So it controls major part of the brain that controls involuntary medulla. Medulla oblongata controls involuntary. Are you able to solve?
Yes.
Wherever there is a doubt, clarify.
Yes.
I have to say, like, how is vomiting kind of involuntary action? Like, can you consider it?
Automatic आता है.
If I want to vomit now, can you vomit now? So, can you vomit? Acha. Can you write now?
But while vomiting, you can actually control, like,
We cannot control. No, that is when the urge is not much, but when for any type of stimulus, the vomiting urge is too much, you will not be able to control. Control means every time you are able to control it. That is voluntary. Now, writing, every time we can regulate. I don't want to write, I will not write. That is today also, tomorrow also, Monday also, Tuesday also, this year also, that year also, anywhere, anytime. But vomiting, sometimes you can, but mostly you cannot. When maybe the urge is not that much, then you can. But when the smell or the excess food or something, whatever the reason, spontaneously will come. So if an action, every time you can control, then only it is voluntary.
now you are riding a bicycle, it is controlled the cerebellum, right? Because
Cerebellum.
yeah,
What is the function of cerebellum?
coordination of muscles.
Muscles. Correct.
Also riding bicycle, you will maintain balance. Right?
Body balance and so both are functions of cerebellum. Because for riding a bicycle, what is the concept expressed? Both the legs and the hands working together. Muscle coordination and body
While
balance.
maintaining the body
balance. So cerebellum. Done now? Done? Are you done? Because sometimes riding a bicycle, sometimes students would write that as a voluntary activity and they would write cerebrum. It's not cerebrum. Here, apart from the concept of voluntary activity, what else? The other concept that is expressed is the hand and the leg coordination and maintaining the body balance on that sleep-cleanse cycle. How an individual is able to maintain the body balance. So that part.
But is it like that cerebrum and cerebellum, they both coordinate with each other so that
Cerebrum and cerebellum. No, cerebrum and cerebellum not coordinate. We can say cerebrum and midbrain coordinates. But the set of functions for cerebrum and cerebellum are separate. Midbrain has got similar overlapping functions with cerebrum. Sometimes we talk about hypothalamus to some extent in certain functions, but cerebrum, pons, cerebellum, spinal cord functions are more or less not overlapping. They are separate functions.
and ma'am, like for riding a bicycle, we are also into vision, so why can't we consider midbrain as
Vision.
yeah?
No, for riding a bicycle, the most important thing is what? For riding a bicycle, the most important thing, why the concept of riding a bicycle is mentioned? Why not walking? Walking is a typical voluntary activity. Okay, for walking also, riding a bicycle also, swimming also, vision is there in everything. But why the concept of riding a bicycle? Why the concept of playing football is being mentioned in the question paper? Because here they are trying to ask you that coordination between the hands and the legs and everything is happening. Then which part of the brain is helping and the body balance? Then which part? So that way. But if it is only walking mentioned, then cerebral. Then cerebral. Once you are done with this, try number 27, sub number 2 only. 27, sub number 2 only. 27, sub number 2. The rest are all this one, and then I'll give you one question. 27, sub number 2.
The B one will be axle.
B meaning the number 12.
No, through which information travels as an electric impulse.
Exactly. Then number 28 will be. Think what will be the answer for number 28. Number 28. Read. What should you write? The first part is what is the function of receptors? That is simple. Think of any 3 situations when receptors of the body does not work. What type of problems we may encounter? Think of the receptors. If the receptors of an individual's body does not work, what type of problems, accidents, dangers the person may come across?
It will be a dangerous because
Can you give some instances? For example, you have to write 3 points. Number 1.
If a person like
touches a boiling pot, you won't feel, but his hand gets burnt
The skin
and
will burn. Okay, what else?
and if a person does not have photoreceptor, then they won't be able to see.
Vision will not be possible. What else? What else?
And what happens when there is no photoreceptor?
The person will not have the sensation of cold and heat, warm, hot and cold, that sensation will not be there. So even if it is very cold, the person is not having that sensation that I'll have to wear something hot, warm, insulator I have to wear. So in that case, even at the very cold temperature surrounding also, the person may be in the normal regular behavior, and he may get some cough, cold, fever, etc. He may end up in various different type of infections. Okay, let us write a proper answer for this. What
There's
is
also a movie dedicated on this.
Huh?
There's also a movie dedicated.
Actually, function of receptors. Let us write the first one. State the function of receptors in our body. State the function of receptors in our body. The first part. Answer. Function of receptors, answer. Receptors help in receiving stimulus. Receptors help in receiving stimulus from the external environment. Receptors help in receiving stimulus from the external environment. And send the information to the CNS where the processing of the information is done, where the processing of the information is done, and send commands to the effector to show appropriate responses. So this is the function of receptor. Go to the next paragraph. Think of any situation. Let us write. Certain instances when receptors are not able to receive appropriate signals, comma, the body may come in contact with harmful substances or suffer from an accident or injury. For example, number one, if eyes or photoreceptors does not work properly, the movement, locomotion of the individual will be disturbed. Number 2, if the ears or phonoreceptors, also known as auditory receptors, you can write. Instead of phono, you write auditory receptors. If the ears or auditory receptors do not work, a person may not a person may not hear the horns of a car. The person may not hear the horns of a car and end up in an accident. And end up in an accident or meet an accident. Last, number 3. If the
Now, is it possible that when a person like from birth is lacking in receptors?
yes, though rare, but yes, sometimes we come across children by birth, they have got problems with their ear, no? They have got problems with their eye.
And people who are blind, like, is it because of the receptors? No.
That is genetic. Quite a number of times that is genetic. It is not that after birth they have, after birth if they have gone through an accident or something and they have lost their ear, they have lost their eyes. Don't they suffer from problems? Yes, every now and then they suffer from problems. They come across so many accidents. They come across so many irregular instances all throughout the day. But yes, is it that certain people are born with this? Yes, certain people are born with this. Out of one individual, out of 31 or out of 40 are born with a defect, birth defect with the defect in their ear, defect in their eyes. Defect in their ear, defect in their eyes is what is common. A child born with defect in their skin, not much. Child born with defect in their nose and in their tongue, not much. But eye and ear, it happens. It does.
No, it can be because those are complex.
Those are vital because when we are talking about certain small birth defects, some irregularities during the entire process of the development of the child in the mother's womb, the first vital organs which are affected are the heart and the eyes and the ear and the liver. So these are some of the vital organs which are affected. There are so many reasons for this. Maybe some high doses of chemicals during the entire process of growth in the mother's womb, or some hereditary conditions, etc. That the child is born with a defective ear, defective eye, brain, liver, like that. Okay, the last one more will it write? What was the second point we had written? We had written about the eyes.
Auditory
And ears we had written. Last one more will it write? If the receptors in the skin does not work, an individual may not be able, an individual may not be able to sense, an individual may not be able to sense the heat and may end up burning his fingers and may end up burning his fingers. So any proper instance you can mention. Any proper instance you can mention. So few questions from this part we had already discussed. The last question, only one that I want to discuss with you is number we've done 28. Okay. Now that we are going to talk about chemical coordination, let us take just one or two concepts and then we'll start with the concept of chemical coordination. Let us take question number 22 first. We'll take question number 22, page 206. Question number 22, take these two questions. Question number 22 and then 19. I first will take 22. Contrast nervous and hormonal mechanisms for control coordination. You'll have to write some two major differences, three differences between nervous coordination and hormonal coordination. What are we going to study now? Chemical. So far, the first part of the chapter is all about nervous coordination. How we are coordinating with the help of our nerves. Is that enough to bring about for a multicellular organism to bring about the accuracy of coordination? Is the nervous setup only enough in our body? No. So that's why we also have another setup. What is that? The hormonal setup, endocrine system, the chemical setup, chemical coordination. So now the question is, which one is better? Or we are comparing which one is better, or what type of functions the nervous can give us, what type of functions the hormones can give us. So the next part of the chapter is called chemical coordination that we are talking about. So what is chemical coordination? Coordination by the way of special chemical substances released by our body. What are those special chemical substances known as hormones? What type of structures and glands in our body release hormones? Specialized group of glands known as endocrine glands. So we have endocrine glands in our body which can produce special chemical substances known as hormones. The concept of nervous system that we have studied so far. Now let us compare. If it is the hormone, then what type of functions does the hormone help us in? What type of functions is the nervous system helping us in? Coordination, fine, but coordination, what type of coordination? Voluntary, involuntary, reflexes, etc. Is the nervous coordination helping us in growth of the body parts ever? No, never. Only voluntary, involuntary reflexes को सुनना है. उसके आगे nervous system cannot perform any other function. Nervous system can only send impulses, messages to lower the body temperature, increase the body temperature, release an enzyme from a gland, or sweating has to be more, no sweating, or which part of the body to contract, which part of the body to relax. So these are the functions the nervous system is doing. Then what about the chemical coordination? Chemical coordination can do beyond this. Chemical coordination, what type of functions these hormones can bring about? These hormones can of course bring about functions such as how the body movement and growth, how the body development and growth should happen. So what are the primary functions that the hormones have in our body? The entire process of growth and development. Right from the time we are in our mother's womb, from that period, the hormones are controlling our process of growth and development. What else? The hormones are also helping our body organs to become mature and start its functions. Hormones are also helping us in developing our mental maturity. Hormones are helping us in developing muscles and bones. So it is the hormones all over the body which is helping in the entire set of metabolic functions also, maturation also, physical, mental, all maturation, and functions of the organs and the glands to release. Which one to release? Whether the pancreas should release the trypsin, and when the pepsin should be released from the stomach, and when the gallbladder should release the bile juice. Everything is regulated by the hormones. Everything is regulated by the hormones. Does the nerve have a role here? No, the nerve does not have any role here. The nerve will only give messages to the walls of the stomach that it is time for you to contract. But the secretion of the enzyme, nerve does not have anything to do. The hormones will bring about. So the nerve is contracting the stomach, but if the enzymes are not released, can the digestion happen? No, the digestion cannot happen. So likewise, if you see one by one, chemical coordination is also parallelly required for an efficient or for a multicellular organism for all efficient functions of the body. So after the break, let us start with the concept of chemical coordination. The word endocrine glands, hormones, you should be well acquainted with. And if possible, we'll try finishing at least one gland. I keep the book here.
I तो ऐसे बंद कर रहा हूँ और डाउन में
देखता हूँ तो क्या मतलब आ रहा है तो सब आया है अभी अच्छा है आयुष्मान है आयुष है बैठा है दोनों अब तो नीचे आया हो ना वो लोग बैठे ऊपर देखते हैं तेरे को भरोसा है कि नहीं भाई सारा देखते हैं नहीं अभी तू देख लिया भाई सारा बस
इस बात कर से अनिश सर क्या बता रहे हैं
अरे वो आया नहीं ना सर आज तो
तू बता रहा है कि
नहीं आजा बोल रहा था सर
हाँ सर वो उसको आजा
हाँ हेलो उदय सर है सामने बोल दूं क्या सर वो 10 मार्क के क्वेश्चन छोड़ के आया सर बोल रहे आजा बेटा फील्डिंग सेट कर रहा हूँ मस्ती अरे आने को कुछ
सही में थे भाई जब तूने बोला से स्पीकर पे रखा था
सर अभी गए ये विजय भैया को भी बता दिया है पूरा वीडियो के निकल गया तो 20 मार्क तक छोड़ के आ गया हाँ तो उदय सर इसके लिए फील्डिंग सेट कर रहे